Hello guys, this is Glenn Garcia, a teacher by profession and an avid chess player by passion. I'd like to show you one of my games against a player named enrocko, rated 2245. The game went as e4, b6, knight c3, bishop b7, f4, and e6. As you can see, instead of d4, my opponent played f4, intending to make a quick initiative here on the center by getting this pawns up the board, f4, e4, and d4. I tried to play it as normal, knight f6. Then he played a strange move, d3. If you remembered my last upload, I said that from the commentary that f3 loses the tempo because that pawn will eventually go to f4 once white plays e5. Here it's the same thing. If I play d5 here and white decides to play e5, this pawn here on d3 will eventually go to d4. That means d3 move is wastes a tempo. So that happened in the game after bishop b4, bishop e2, d5, e5, knight f d7, both kings castled, and then a3. Now I'd like to discuss that capturing on c3 would be a slightly a slight mistake here, because even though you double white's pawn in the c file, you are giving him a lot of options by giving him or granting him the two bishops, and there's not really a concrete way of taking advantage of the double c pawns by white. So after I played bishop e7, d4, c5, I'm expecting a quick bishop e3 here. But instead, white opted for a dubious pawn sacrifice by playing f5. I don't see any reason for doing that quickly, since after pawn takes pawn, I don't see how white should continue after that. But instead, also I can also play the more solid knight c6, and after f e6, f e6, let's say for example bishop e3, I can play queen b8, putting a indirect pressure on the e5 and d4 pawns of white. Now I play capture, he played bishop e3. In this position, I can just simply play g6 or cd4. G6 and then cd4, getting the most of my advantage, or establishing at least a pawn up and getting the position more solid, because after instead of let's say for example I play g6, white play queen d2, and then I can play cd4, knight d4, knight c6, or directly knight c6 at once, since knight takes d5 will be met by cd4 followed by knight takes e5, or the variation that appears now. I put it in captions so you can see the corresponding variations. No, I won't discuss specific lines here since it would take some time, so I just put it in captions. You can pause the video and look at the lines. So after c4, I'm sure that this is a mistake, since white can take advantage of it by playing b3. Now c4 altogether is not a mistake, but it should be prepared by a6, so that once you push c4, b5 can support c4 immediately without any problems. So in this position I played c4, inaccurate, and then he forestalls b3 by playing first queen d2. It's not a total mistake, but it gives black some time to recover. Well, in this position I can simply play g6 or a6, so that after b3 I can retort b5. But instead I played rook e8, which is kind of mistake here, since after white plays knight g5 and I play something like knight e6, he can play g4, opening up the f file very quickly, and proving that the absence of my rook on the f file would be a hindrance to my defense. So when he played h4, threatening to or lure me in capturing this pawn, if I capture that pawn and recaptured by knight, queen takes h4, my queen will be at loss of squares here after bishop g5. Okay, I won't go to details, since that would obviously fall on white's favor. So after a6, rook ae1, preparing a future e6 advance here by placing the rook on the e file. I played knight f8, and after bishop g5, knight e6, capture, g3. White's plan here is kind of slow since black can follow up very quickly here with the plan of b5, a5, b4 here. His plan of knight d1, knight e3, knight g2, knight f4 would be too slow, as what happened in the game. After b5, knight d1, a5, knight e3, I defended the pawn on f5 by g6, knight g2, b4, and then white plays f4. Now, from this position, I thought of preventing white's plan of closing the queen side and to prevent the further increase of my piece activity there, since he himself is trying to get to my king side. As you noticed, as I have discussed from my previous lesson, he has already an RMA on the king side, and his pawn structure tells him to do that because it's pointing to my king. And also, my pawn structure here points to the queen side, so that indicates that I should play on that side. So I decided to play bishop c6, and the variations that will follow will appear in notes here or in speech bubble. Just take time to pause the video and look at the variations. So after b3, I quickly played knight d7, and then he went for it by playing dc4. Now I have two options here. I can play knight b6 followed by knight takes a4 in case of c5, or to play dc4 to lure white into playing bishop takes c4, knight b6, bishop b3, and then bishop takes b4, producing a pass a pawn. Okay, so that didn't happen because white fell for d5, which obviously fell for queen c5 check. And after knight e3, I have the option here of inserting the move c3, which is better, but it's also good to capture at once on d5, so that after queen takes bishop, queen takes knight check, king h2, knight b6, I'm already gaining the advantage here. White should have played queen d1, because as a rule it would be better to keep your pieces closer to your weaknesses so you can cover them once your opponent starts putting pressure on them. So after queen b7, I played rook ab8, queen a6, and after knight d4, the position, I mean, it's always a good idea, especially if you have pass pawns, to simplify the position, because the fewer the pieces, the stronger is your pass pawn. So knight takes knight, queen takes knight, queen takes a5. I can immediately win by playing rook takes pawn, queen takes b4, and then doubling rooks on the e file, which is curtains. But instead, I played b3, and after producing a passed b pawn, he played bishop b5, and then the capture on the e file, and then rook e1. After queen c5, it is clear that it's only I who has a chance of winning here. After rook e2, I played rook d8. Instead of rook d8, knight takes a4 here is also winning. After queen takes a knight, I can play queen takes b5, forcing a queen swap or queen exchange, and obviously the game. But instead, I went for mate by playing rook d8, threatening rook g1, queen g1 check, and then he played h5. f4 should win here, but instead I played rook d1, I'm sorry, not f4, but rook d1 first, and after rook g2, f4 should win here. But instead I played a little show here by playing b2, rook takes b2, and only then f4. Now in this position, I'm obviously winning here, and my opponent played bishop f1 and resigned without waiting for my reply. It's obvious that his queen here is available for capture on the next move. Thank you for listening, guys, and I hope you enjoyed my video. Don't forget to click on like and subscribe to my videos if you want to see more. Thanks, guys, and take care.